These are 12 of Scooby-Doo's worst episodes of all time. In Season 1, Episode 9, two giant monsters called Humongonauts begin rampaging through Crystal Cove, destroying buildings and causing absolute chaos throughout the town. The attacks mirror the fractured relationships within Mystery Inc., especially after Scooby discovers Shaggy and Velma's secret relationship that they've been hiding from everyone else. The gang investigates the destruction and finds that the monsters are actually two rival insurance salesmen in disguise, using the massive destruction to sabotage each other's businesses and profit from the insurance claims that would follow. The scheme is elaborate but ultimately pointless, and the episode ends with unresolved tension between Scooby, Shaggy, and Velma that feels uncomfortable and awkward to watch unfold. This episode is frequently cited as one of the lowest rated of the entire series, and it's not hard to see why when you actually sit down and watch it. Everyone found the monster plot completely uninspired and lacking any of the creativity that made other episodes memorable. The relationship drama between Shaggy, Velma, and Scooby was awkward and forced, which ruined the entire point of it. The villain reveal of insurance salesmen in monster suits felt anticlimactic and disappointing, but this episode is far from the worst. In Season 1, Episode 11, a vampire is terrorizing Crystal Cove and stealing various items throughout the town in what appears to be random attacks. The gang investigates these strange thefts and discovers that the main suspect is Daphne's mother, Nan Blake, after she's seen acting suspiciously and gets directly linked to several of the thefts. Eventually, it gets revealed that Nan was hypnotized and being controlled against her will, and the real culprit is Sheila Altunian, who used a special serum to manipulate people into committing the crimes for her. The whole mystery revolves around this mind control serum that basically explains away most of the strange behavior and suspicious actions that the gang witnessed throughout their investigation. The episode is heavily criticized for its convoluted plot that doesn't make much sense when you really think about it, and its complete lack of suspense throughout the investigation process. The twist involving Daphne's mother being the apparent culprit is seen as forced and manipulative, clearly designed to create drama rather than serve the story. But unfortunately, the episodes only get worse from here. In Season 1, Episode 14, the gang attends a convention for teen mystery solvers where they're supposed to compete against other young detective teams, but when a fiery skeleton specter attacks during the event, only the mascots, including Scooby, are left to save the day. The episode is told from Scooby's perspective and features a crossover with other Hanna-Barbera mystery teams that most viewers won't recognize or care about. The story focuses almost entirely on the mascot characters, while the main human characters of Mystery Inc. take a backseat to the action and barely participate in solving the mystery. The episode has a dreamlike, surreal tone that's completely different from the rest of the series and doesn't match the established atmosphere that fans had come to expect. This episode is polarizing among fans due to its weird mascot-focused narrative and complete lack of involvement from the main human characters that audiences actually care about and tune in to watch. The episode feels like it was made for a completely different audience than the people who were already invested in Mystery Incorporated's ongoing story. But this episode is not the worst one on the list. In Season 1, Episode 18, an exchange student named Mai Lei arrives in Crystal Cove with a mysterious ring that attracts the attention of two rival Chinese wizards who begin attacking the town in search of the powerful artifact. The gang gets involved to protect Mai and solve the mystery of the ring's significance and why these wizards are so desperate to get their hands on it. The episode relies heavily on mystical elements and Asian stereotypes to drive its plot forward, featuring characters and situations that feel outdated and problematic. The two wizard villains are portrayed using tired tropes about ancient magic and Oriental mysticism, and their motivations revolve around vague concepts of power struggles and ancient artifacts. The episode is heavily criticized for its stereotypical portrayal of Asian characters and mystical elements, which many found dated and insensitive for a modern cartoon that should know better. The plot is seen as convoluted and less compelling than other mysteries in the series, failing to engage viewers with its overly complicated backstory and mystical nonsense, making it one of the worst-rated episodes. But if you thought that was bad, the list only gets worse from here. In Season 2, Episode 14, the gang teams up with Blue Falcon and Dynamite to solve a mystery involving a Dragon Man robot hybrid that's terrorizing Crystal Cove and causing destruction throughout the town. The episode includes backstory on Quest Labs and features a crossover with characters from other Hanna-Barbera properties that don't really fit with the established tone of Mystery Incorporated. The story shifts focus away from Mystery Inc. to spotlight the guest characters from Blue Falcon, giving them major roles in solving the mystery while relegating the main characters to supporting roles. The plot becomes overly complicated with the addition of the crossover elements and the bizarre Dragon Man robot hybrid villain that doesn't make much sense even by cartoon standards. While some fans appreciated seeing the crossover and nostalgic characters return, many felt the inclusion of Blue Falcon and Dynamite was jarring and completely out of place in the darker world of Mystery Incorporated. The episode feels disconnected from the rest of the series and its ongoing storylines, interrupting the flow of the overarching narrative to serve as what essentially amounts to a commercial for other Hanna-Barbera properties. But this was far from the worst episode on the list. In Season 2, Episode 20, a motorcycle-riding robber known as the Dandy Highwayman kidnaps all the women of Crystal Cove, including Daphne, as part of some bizarre criminal scheme. The gang must stop his crime spree and rescue all the victims before something terrible happens to them, but the villain's plan doesn't make much sense from the beginning. The villain's characterization is bizarre, and his motives for kidnapping women are unclear and poorly explained throughout the episode. The story takes place during the lead-up to the series' climax, when the stakes should be getting higher and more serious as the overarching plot reaches its conclusion, but instead, we get this silly filler episode. This episode is often criticized for its odd tone and completely cringeworthy villain who feels out of place in the series, especially during such a crucial part of the ongoing story. The Dandy Highwayman's characterization and motives are viewed as silly rather than threatening, and the plot is seen as weak filler in the lead-up to the series' important climax when every episode should have been building toward the finale. Many felt it disrupted the pacing and seriousness of the ongoing story arc when the show should have been building tension and resolving plot threads, instead of introducing random new villains with no connection to the larger narrative. The episode feels like it was inserted at the wrong time and would have been better suited for earlier in the season when there was more room for standalone adventures. But this episode was far from the worst on the list. In Season 1, Episode 15, a biker gang called the Wild Brood, who wear orc masks for some reason, rides into Crystal Cove and starts causing trouble around town. Daphne becomes infatuated with the gang's leader, Odnarb, causing tension with Fred and disrupting the group dynamic that had been building throughout the season. The gang investigates a series of crimes linked to the bikers, but the mystery focuses more on the guest characters and their drama than the actual investigation that should be the heart of the episode. The biker gang's orc gimmick becomes the central focus rather than building an engaging mystery with real stakes, and the solution is fairly predictable from early in the episode. Fans often criticize this episode for its weak mystery and the focus on guest characters rather than developing the main gang that viewers actually care about and want to see more of. The plot is seen as predictable from the beginning, with most viewers figuring out the solution long before the reveal happens. The biker gang's orc gimmick is considered more silly than entertaining or threatening, failing to create any real sense of danger or suspense. The episode's humor and character dynamics didn't resonate with viewers, making it feel like pointless filler that could have been cut from the season without affecting anything important. The romance subplot between Daphne and Odnarb feels forced and doesn't add anything meaningful to Daphne's character development. If you thought that was a crazy episode, the next one will shock you. In Season 1, Episode 3, a ghostly truck haunts Crystal Cove, running people off the road in dangerous encounters, while crystal doorknobs mysteriously disappear from around town in what seems like unrelated incidents. The gang's investigation leads them to a secret hideout filled with stolen doorknobs and uncovers a plot involving a hidden diamond that explains the strange thefts. The mystery revolves around the connection between the ghost truck and the missing doorknobs, which turns out to be a fairly straightforward scheme that lacks the complexity and cleverness of later episodes. There's also an awkward subplot involving Daphne going on a date that doesn't add anything meaningful to the episode and feels like padding to fill out the runtime. This early episode is often skipped by fans during rewatches due to its underwhelming villain reveal and a mystery that feels more routine than intriguing compared to later episodes that would establish the series' higher standards. The subplot involving Daphne's date is seen as awkward and unnecessary, taking time away from the actual mystery without developing her character in any meaningful way. The overall story lacks the complexity and charm that the series would develop in later episodes, and the resolution feels too simple and convenient. In Season 2, Episode 9, a ghostly Puritan judge named Hebediah Grimm terrorizes couples on Lover's Lane throughout Crystal Cove, passing harsh judgment on their romantic relationships. The gang investigates the attacks and discovers the judge's true identity while dealing with annoying side characters who get in their way and provide unwanted comic relief. The episode introduces several supporting characters who are meant to provide comic relief, but end up being more irritating than funny, disrupting the flow of the investigation. The mystery itself has a fairly obvious solution that becomes apparent early in the episode, removing most of the suspense that should drive the story forward. While the villain's design and spooky atmosphere are praised by some fans for their creepy effectiveness, the episode is criticized for its annoying supporting characters and a mystery that many found too easy to solve. The episode feels like a step backward in terms of the series' evolution toward more sophisticated storytelling and character development. In Season 2, Episode 22, the gang undergoes hypnosis to learn more about the ancient Anunnaki race and the evil entity buried beneath Crystal Cove, diving deeper into the show's complex mythology. The episode features surreal dream sequences and takes a deeper dive into the show's overarching mythology rather than providing a traditional mystery structure. The story is told through strange dream logic and surreal imagery that's meant to be a homage to Twin Peaks and other surreal television. The focus shifts heavily toward the show's complex mythology rather than providing the traditional mystery format that most fans expect from a Scooby-Doo episode, even one as evolved as Mystery Incorporated. This episode is highly polarizing because some fans appreciate the Twin Peaks homage and the surreal tone that tries something completely different from the usual formula. However, many others find it confusing and disconnected from the main story, feeling like it prioritizes style over substance. While ambitious, the episode may have been too experimental for its own good, sacrificing accessibility for artistic vision. In Season 2, Episode 10, after an avalanche traps them in an isolated location, the gang is stuck in a creepy library with a rival mystery-solving team, all while being stalked by a werewolf-like creature. The story blends classic Scooby-Doo scares with ongoing character drama between the teams as they try to survive the night together. The episode builds up the werewolf as a genuine threat throughout most of the runtime, creating tension and atmosphere as the characters try to figure out what's hunting them. However, the ending reveals that the werewolf encounters were actually hallucinations rather than a real monster, subverting the traditional Scooby-Doo formula in a way that not all fans appreciated. Although the episode has strong atmosphere and quality animation that creates genuine suspense, some viewers disliked the ambiguous ending and the focus on character relationships over solving the central mystery. The rival mystery team also felt underdeveloped, serving more as plot devices than fully realized characters, which made their interactions with the main gang feel forced rather than natural. In Season 2, Episode 7, a graveyard ghoul disrupts Shaggy and Scooby's midnight movie experience at the local drive-in, leading the gang to investigate a series of spooky events happening in the Crystal Cove Cemetery. The mystery involves gas explosions, flying coffins, and a dramatic showdown in a mausoleum that escalates quickly into chaos. The episode rushes through its mystery elements and features an over-the-top climax with explosions and supernatural events that feel more like an action movie than a mystery. The ghoul's motives are poorly explained and the resolution feels hurried compared to other episodes that take time to properly develop their solutions. Fans found the episode rushed and strange, with a mystery that felt less engaging than the series' usual standards for storytelling and character development. The episode lacked the emotional depth and careful plotting of the series' stronger entries, feeling more like a generic action cartoon than the sophisticated mystery series that Mystery Incorporated had established itself as. The pacing felt off throughout, jumping from plot point to plot point without giving viewers time to absorb the information or become invested in the outcome. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the scariest Scooby-Doo episodes, click the video on the screen.